The plasma-lunar energy theory proposes that the Sun obtains its energy from a plasma moon through a complex interplay of electromagnetic interactions. According to this theory, the Moon acts as a massive reservoir of plasma, which is a state of matter consisting of charged particles. The Moon's plasma interacts with the Sun's electric field, resulting in a transfer of energy from the Moon to the Sun. This theory suggests that the Moon's plasma is continuously replenished by various processes such as solar-wind interactions, cosmic ray bombardment, and internal geological activity. As the Moon's plasma interacts with the Sun's electric field, it generates electrical currents and magnetic fields within the Sun. These currents and fields drive various solar phenomena, including solar flares, coronal mass ejections, and other energetic events observed on the Sun's surface. The plasma-lunar energy theory posits that this exchange of energy between the Moon and the Sun is responsible for sustaining the Sun's luminosity and overall energy output. It suggests that without the continuous supply of plasma energy from the Moon, the Sun would gradually lose its electric charge and. However, it is worth exploring alternative theories and hypotheses to expand our knowledge and challenge existing paradigms. Further research and investigation are necessary to gather observational data and conduct experiments that could either support or refute the plasma-lunar energy theory. A lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse can happen at either node, but a full moon will always be a lunar eclipse and a new moon will always be a solar eclipse. Plasma and electrical bodies. A plasma surrounding rotating central body may attain a state of partial quotation determined by the balance between the centrifugal force and electrical magnetic charge acting in a dipole field. As they shifted into alignment, enormous bands of electricity began to discharge between the heavenly bodies as alignment of the southern synchronized. That's electrical discharge further energizes, becoming a constant uninterrupted stream. That's all the electricity terminates at a central point. The North Pole termination point begins to either draw an all-magnetic material from the Earth's surface or magnetize the ground directly beneath. This time passes this material forces under the intense heat and pressure, slowly morphing into what we know as the Sun and Moon. The Sun and Moon travel in circular orbits on the EMW above us. EMW has levels of energy in altitude. The Sun and Moon can only ride at a certain altitude on this wave to ensure stability to the entire Earth realm ecosystem. So there's a vector near the equator. If the magnetic field is tilted relative to the object's axis of rotation, it will cause the objective process around the field lines. If the magnetic field is aligned with the object's axis, this axis alters slightly around the equator, where our local Sun, when heading towards the Tropic of Cancer, subsequently causing summer in the north. It hit this vector, causing it to slow down a little and to shrink, is diameter of circulation over our realm, and the opposite effect when passing the equator towards the Tropic of Capricorn, again on the equinox, speeding it up slightly and also expanding its diameter. This is only a slight change. The Tropic of Cancer is 22,788 miles in diameter, while the Tropic of Capricorn is 22,817 miles in diameter. This is just a 29-mile difference in diameter. So the Sun, although speeds up, it is only to adjust for this slight compensation, and thus its apparent motion relative in the sky remains to appear as a constant speed, still completing its course in 24 hours' time. This is because the Sun and Moon are in an electromagnetic dipole lock. Electromagnetic dipole locking is a phenomenon that occurs in plasma electrical bodies, where the magnetic field lines of the plasma are locked into the rotation axis of the body, and that results in the plasma rotating with the body as if they were both part of a single entity. When a magnetic field is present, it exerts a force on any charged particles that are present. If these particles are moving relative to the magnetic field, they experience a force perpendicular to both their velocity and the magnetic field direction. This force closes in to move in circular orbits around the magnetic field lines. This is what the Sun and Moon are, and whenever a rotating body is present in the same region, it drags the magnetic lines along with it. This causes the charged particles in the plasma is also rotate along with the body, and they are trapped in their circular or orbits around one magnetic field line, resulting in a dipole lock. The velocity of an object and dipole locking, like the Sun-Moon or locked in, can be charged by altering the strength or direction of the magnetic field. If the electromagnetic fields increased, the object will experience a greater force and accelerate, increasing its velocity. Conversely, if the magnetic field is decreased, an object will experience the less force and decelerate, decreasing its velocity. The diameter rotation can also be changed by alternative orientation of the magnetic field. This actually is only a 30 miles per hour difference in diameter, and so since it is just compensating its speed for the larger diameter, it is therefore keeping the same exact apparent motion across the sky. The Sun's speed per hour on the equator from east to west is 1,035 miles per hour, and his journey north or south in 90 days is 1,035 miles, and its distance embraces 15 degrees latitude. When the Sun is moving from the Tropic of Cancer towards southwards toward the Tropic of Capricorn, this is when its speed changes to 1,065 miles per hour, where it is summer in the south and winter in the north, and where the days are 13 and 12 hours long. When he is moving along the equator northward towards the Tropic of Cancer, it is summer in the north, and its speed is 1,035 miles per hour. At the same vector along the equator, and thus shrinking its diameter of orbit seasonally forever and always. Dipole locking. Electromagnetic dipole locking is a phenomenon that occurs in plasma electrical bodies, where the magnetic field lines of the plasma are locked into rotation axis of the body. This results in the plasma rotating with the body as if they were both part of a single entity. When a magnetic field is present, it exerts a force on any charged particle that are present. If these particles are moving relative to the magnetic field, they experience a force perpendicular both their velocity and magnetic field direction. This force causes them to move in circular orbit around, and I made a field line. This is what the Sun and Moon are in. Electrostatic levitation. Coulomb's law is a fundamental principle in physics that describes the electrostatic interaction between charged particles. According to this law, the force between two charged objects is directly proportional to the product of their charges, and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Mathematically, it can be expressed F equals K asterisk Q1 asterisk Q2 / R squared, where F is the electrostatic force, K is the electrostatic constant, Q1 and Q2 are the charges of the two objects, and R is the distance between them. In electrical levitation, a plasma is often used as one of the charged bodies. Plasma is a state of matter consisting of ionized gas, which means it contains free electrons and positive ions. When a plasma is subjected to an electric field, it experiences a force due to its charged particles interacting with the electric field. Semi-transparent moon. Incandescence, which is the emission of light. To understand this in more detail, let's consider the example of a filament in an incandescent light bulb. The filament is typically made of tungsten, but the sun will be composed of gold, which has a melting point identical to its speed 1035 miles per hour, which has a high melting point and excellent resistance to heat. When an electric current passes through the filament, it encounters resistance, causing the filament to heat up. As the temperature increases, the atoms in the filament gain energy and begin to vibrate more vigorously. At sufficiently high temperatures, some of the electrons in the gold atoms gain enough energy to transition from their ground state to higher energy levels. This excitation occurs when electrons absorb energy from the electric current, like the current the moon rides on, remember, and move to higher. I think this means the sun should be higher every new moon than the moon at a full moon. Is that true? Energy orbitals within the atom. However, these excited states are unstable, and the electrons eventually return to their original ground state by releasing the excess energy they acquired. The release of this excess energy occurs in the form of photons, which are particles of light. The wavelength or color of the emitted light depends on the amount of energy released. This excitation occurs when electrons absorb energy from the electric current and move to higher energy orbitals within the atom. However, these excited states are unstable, and the electrons eventually return to their original ground state by releasing the excess energy they acquired. The release of this excess energy occurs in the form of photons, which are particles of light. The wavelength or color of the emitted light depends on the amount of energy released during electron transitions. At lower temperatures, such as when the filament is just starting to heat up, the emitted light appears yellow or orange. As the temperature increases further, more energy is released during electron transitions, resulting in shorter wavelengths of light being emitted. This shift towards shorter wavelengths causes the color of the emitted light to change from yellow to white. This can tell us when the sun will turn black again and cause the catastrophic events as usual when it comes to wash away the rain, so to speak. In addition to emitting visible light, incandescent bodies also produce heat. This is because not all of the energy absorbed by the electrons is released as light. Some of it is converted into thermal energy, which manifests as heat. The amount of heat produced depends on factors such as the electrical current flowing through the body, the resistance encountered, and the efficiency of energy conversion. The interaction between an electrical body and a plasma like the moon can also contribute to the color change and increased light and heat production. Plasma is a state of matter in which atoms are ionized, meaning they have lost or gained electrons and become charged particles. When an electrical body interacts with a plasma such as the sun and the moon, it can lead to additional excitation of electrons and subsequent emission of light. Plasmas are known for their ability to emit light across a wide range of wavelengths, including ultraviolet, UV, and infrared, IR, regions in addition to visible light. Therefore, when an electrical body interacts with a plasma, it can enhance the overall emission spectrum, resulting in a broader range of colors being produced. Like that makes sense too because the moon makes the stars shine brighter at night. In summary, the sun's light is golden, warm, drying, preservative and antiseptic, while the moon's light is silver, cool, damp, putrefying and septic. The sun's rays decrease the combustion of a bonfire, while the moon's rays increase combustion. Plant and animal substances exposed to sunlight quickly dry, shrink, coagulate, and lose the tendency to decompose and putrefy. Grapes and other fruits become solid, partially candied and preserved like raisins, dates, and prunes. Animal flesh coagulates, loses its volatile gaseous constituents, becomes firm, dry, and slow to decay. When exposed to moonlight, however, plant and animal substances tend to show symptoms of putrefaction and decay. Indirect sun
Believing in space is a childish game. It's like believing in death as well as it's insane.
You trying to tell 93 million of supposed empty space?